We know that
Well, that's what
Russia,
separates us. That separates us.
What Russia was attempting to do during, was it World War I or World War II? They were trying to make a chimpanzee-human hybrid for war.
Oh, I saw that. I
For
read about
war.
that. Yeah.
A chimp-human hybrid for war.
Well, there's been a recent publication out of Japan where they're allowing Japanese scientists to edit human cells in embryos with mammalian genes, with other mammalian genes.
Like what kind of genes? Like woolly mammoth genes in a person?
No, we are not doing that. People ask us if we could solve hair loss with woolly mammoths.
That would be the first thing people want.
Yeah.
Hair loss. Next thing, bigger dicks.
Yeah, those are consistent.
Well, you can't
questions.
engineer once a person's already born, right?
Well, you
with
can't,
the current technology.
with the current technology, like so being able to send stuff to specific gene therapies and targeting it, being able to deliver specifically to cells is an area that we're getting better at. Like I think one of the projects that's the furthest along is around like sickle cell anemia. It's a single CRISPR knockout, right? So it's a single knockout. It's not multiplex editing. And now it's about, can you target that in all of the tissue types that are the most affected? And then over time, how do you deliver that gene therapy to everything?
And you could do that to a person who's already born?
To someone that's already born. It's obviously much easier to do it at the embryo stage.
Could you envision a world where the gene editing technology becomes so powerful that you could do it to a person who is already fully formed?
Yes.
Whoa.
Yeah. So
this is what I predicted. Everyone's going to look like Thor. It's going to be a bunch of Chris Hemsworth and Jason Momoas, and no more people look like you and me.
Yeah. Wait.
Over, bro.
So Chris is one of our investors, and I always think we look just like each other.
So
he invited Luke invited me to go to
if I was from another planet, I think a different species is.
Yeah, they invited me to go up to Byron Bay and go surfing with them, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go take my shirt off next to you nerds. That's exactly what's never gonna happen. And I just made up an excuse of why I couldn't go because they were like, we want to go surfing, and I was like, yeah.
Sure you do. You want to?
Yeah, I'm not going surfing with you two.
Measure cocks too.
I was like,
what are you trying to do?
I'm going as far away from you with my shirt off as possible.
But you got to imagine if that becomes a reality, like what we're doing today, just with plastic surgery.
Yeah.
Right. Like, let's take South Korea for example. Yeah, GLP-1s, but that's achievable, right? What GLP-1s are doing is achievable through hard work.
Yeah.
But like what they're doing in South Korea with eye surgery, like it's ubiquitous. Like so many people are getting this weird surgery where they have these K-pop eyes.
Yeah.
It's
a strange thing.
It's a strange thing. And if that's just primitive cutting and sewing tissue artistically, right? But if people can decide what they're going to look like, what their intelligence is going to be like.
Yeah, it's a eugenics
now
world.
We're really playing God.
No, that's playing God to another level, right? And that's this eugenics world where we know, right? Like I just had a child, and typically, I'd say if you go through the IVF process, which we went through, you typically can test for certain types of issues like along the pregnancy, right? Mm-hmm. And when they put the embryo in, they look at kind of the morphological grade. Well, now there's new companies out there, one of which I use, which after I used it, I was so impressed, I invested in it, called Orchid Health. And they actually take cells from the developing embryo on the very outer derm, right, on this thing that doesn't affect the embryo development. They culture those cells, and then they're doing full genome sequencing, right? And so we had a handful of embryos, and so not selecting, they don't let you to select for like eye color or height or anything. But outside of the kind of the core, is there a mental issue or is it compatible with life, which is what most people test for, you can now ethically and transparently go figure out, does it have any predispositions to certain things, right? So like, if diabetes or certain types of cancers or Alzheimer's rodents in your family, you can now get, a lot of that's environmental, but you can still get a distribution scored so you can understand what are the genetic factors in that. So that's today. So that's not like 20 years in the future. That's not Gattaca. That's today.
Wow.
And I mean, we did that because I found out during that sick period that I have a gene mutation which affects the Titin gene, and I create a truncated protein. So I am more susceptible to diseases, including the first true round of COVID that was a lab leak that attacked my heart.
Wow.
And so I didn't want to be able to pass that on. So we screened for that, right? But that's not a standard thing. So, but that's a today thing. Like 2 years ago, that technology existed and is now prevalent and people are using it.
So you understand the technology better than most. conceivably, what could be done that would, in the future, allow people to change their very shape and it literally like change everything about them, change their intelligence, change everything?
I think it starts with neuroenhancers, and I think and this is the biological perspective. This is not even the computer brain interfaces merging with AI, that whole world, which I think that world has a lot of traction and is scarily getting a lot of traction pretty quickly. But I think it starts with things like health span, where it's like the very vain stuff. So like skin elasticity, hair. All of that, eye color, I think all of that is changeable, and not in like there's a company right now, I forgot the name of it, that spun out of Harvard that is making patches using microneedling patches that you can't even feel the needles, right? And delivering a custom stem cell for you that can help like replace your melanocytes for hair and for skin. Wow. And so you can have 30-year-old looking skin when you're 85 years old.
What?
Yes. So, and the same thing for hair, right? The reason why our hair
that's going to be real soon.
Yeah, that's the speed of which I think the two biggest barriers for healthcare around genetics and longevity is going to be the FDA process and not the technology. I think it'll be a process problem. We saw that with Operation Warp Drive, right? We saw how fast things could move if people really wanted them to. So I think that's number one, and I think that you're either going to have the ethical pushbacks on this.
So regulatory and ethical, those are the two hurdles, but right now the technology exists.
Yeah. Well, the other biggest thing, and this is kind of for the folks that are deep in longevity, they'll tell you the biggest issue with longevity is that it's not currently classified as a disease state.
Right.
It's just, and so they're not getting NIH funding.
Right.
They're getting all that funding's going to other random stuff. But people aren't focusing on longevity. That's why you've got, like, you've seen anything that like Bob Nelson's done. Bob started Arch Ventures, and he's like arguably the number one biotech in the world, and he's working on epigenetic reset, so resetting your clocks at a cellular level. That's what Jeff Bezos and them have. They're doing it at Altos Labs. George Church has another company called Rejuvenate Bio. They're doing the same things, and they're smart. They did it in dogs first because people love dogs, and they can also collect a lot of data that then they can then apply to clinical trials.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of people cloning their dogs now.
Yeah, there's people that are cloning their dogs. They can do it even easier now with this.
Yeah, I didn't bring Marshall to the studio.
We did clone one person's dog.
I couldn't do it. Yeah. I love him too much. I couldn't do it. I would feel so weird around this fake Marshall. Want to trade like the pros without being one? With PU Prime, you can. Whether you're into Forex, stocks, crypto, or commodities, PU Prime gives you access to 200-plus trading instruments, ultra-low spreads, and lightning-fast execution, all on an award-winning platform. Now with copy trading. No time to track the markets? With PU Prime's copy trading, you can automatically mirror the trades of top-performing experts, giving you the chance to profit like a pro, even if you're just starting out. Why choose PU Prime? Fast execution and ultra-low spreads. Stay ahead of the game. Leverage up to 1/500. Maximize your potential. Copy trading. Let the experts trade for you. 24/7 support. Help when you need it. Trusted by 1 million plus traders worldwide. Ready to trade smarter? Click the link in the description and start with PU Prime today, where every trade counts.